Dr. Victor Elias was a medic who had served in various war zones, his hands stained not with blood, but with the mark of healing. He had always believed in the sanctity of life, regardless of who it belonged to. But everything changed when he was called to treat someone unlike any patient he had ever seen: the injured wife of King Thaler, the tyrant ruler of the Zareth Empire. The Zareth Empire was an expansive, ruthless regime known for its iron grip over its territories. King Thaler, a man feared and revered by many, had ruled for decades with an iron fist, demanding unwavering loyalty or punishment. His wife, Queen Althira, had always been a mystery to Victor. Known for her elegance and grace, she was seldom seen in the public eye, and rumors swirled that she had no part in the Empire's cruel policies. Yet, the Empire's subjects were taught to hate her as much as they did her husband, simply for being married to the man who kept them shackled in fear. Victor had been sent to the royal palace under urgent circumstances, called to heal a royal injury inflicted during a rebellion. A group of dissidents had attacked the palace, causing chaos in the once serene halls. Queen Althira had been caught in the crossfire. Though the queen's injuries were severe, it was her mysterious nature and rumored ties to the resistance that piqued Victor's curiosity. When he arrived at the palace's medical ward, the air was thick with tension. Guards patrolled the halls, and whispers of rebellion stirred in the shadows. He was escorted to the queen's chamber, where she lay unconscious, her once beautiful face now marred by deep gashes and bruises. Her royal attire was tattered, and blood stained her once gilded gown. As Victor approached, his heart skipped a beat. Her beauty, though broken by violence, was undeniable, and for a brief moment, he saw her not as a queen, but as a woman, vulnerable, desperate, and in need of care. Her pulse was weak, and her breathing shallow. Victor immediately went to work, carefully cleaning and stitching the wounds, aware that any delay could mean the queen's death. He had treated soldiers, civilians, even leaders from various factions, but never had he faced someone like her. His fingers trembled as they moved over her delicate skin, stitching together the life-threatening wounds with expert precision. As he worked, he couldn't help but wonder about the woman who lay before him. The queen's reputation as a symbol of grace was contradicted by the rumors of her husband's brutality. What was her role in this empire? Was she a mere puppet, silenced by her tyrannical husband? Or was she something more? The questions gnawed at Victor as he worked tirelessly through the night. It was then, as the first rays of dawn touched the horizon, that something strange happened. Victor finished applying the final stitches to her wounds and leaned back, exhausted. He thought he saw her eyelids twitch, but he dismissed it as a trick of his fatigued mind. Yet, when he stood to leave, he was startled by a soft whisper from the queen's lips. "Help me," she murmured. Victor froze, his heart pounding in his chest. He turned back to the queen, unsure of what to do. Her eyes fluttered open slowly, revealing a pair of dark, almost hypnotic eyes. They were full of pain, but also an eerie sense of power. She gazed at him, her lips parted as if she were about to speak, but no words came. The air in the room seemed to shift, as if the very space around them had thickened with tension. Victor could feel it, a strange, otherworldly sensation that prickled his skin. He took a step back, confusion clouding his thoughts. What was happening? Then a voice, a whisper, echoed in his mind, a voice that didn't belong to the queen. It was deep and resonant, filled with ancient power. "You're not just a healer, Victor Elias. You are a part of something much greater. Your hands were always meant for more than mending broken bodies. You have a choice now: save her, or destroy everything." Victor staggered back, clutching his head as the voice reverberated in his mind. The queen's gaze never left him, her dark eyes filled with an intensity he couldn't fathom. She wasn't just the wife of a tyrant. She was a force in her own right. He looked down at her and realized with a jolt that she wasn't just a victim of circumstance. There was a strange power emanating from her, something that felt both unnatural and ancient. It was as if the life force of the Empire itself pulsed within her veins. "Who are you?" Victor asked, his voice barely a whisper. Althira's lips curled into a faint, knowing smile. "I am what you have always feared, Victor," she replied softly. "I am the queen, yes, but I am also something far more ancient. I am the last of a line of rulers who were bound not by blood, but by power. The Zareth Empire is not built on the king's strength alone. It is built on the bond between ruler and kingdom. I am that bond. And now, I will break it." Victor's mind spun. This was no ordinary woman. This was no helpless queen. The Empire, the king, the war, it was all part of something much darker, much more complex. Althira wasn't a mere bystander. She was the key to the Empire's foundation. She could destroy it all. And in that moment, Victor was given a choice. His hands, his healing hands, could save her. He could mend the damage done, keeping her alive. But by doing so, he would perpetuate the tyrant's rule. If he let her die, the Empire would crumble with her. The rebellion would succeed. The people would be freed. "Help me," she whispered again, but this time there was a plea in her voice, a genuine cry for help. It was no longer about the Empire or the king. It was about her, the woman behind the title, the person in need of saving. Victor's mind raced. He had sworn an oath to heal, to save lives. But what if saving her meant condemning thousands more? What if his actions here would decide the fate of an entire world? With trembling hands, Victor reached for his medical tools once more, knowing that every decision would come with irreversible consequences. But as he looked into her eyes, he felt an odd sense of understanding. She was not the enemy. The Empire had twisted her into something she wasn't. She was a woman who had been forced to live in the shadows of her husband's cruelty. She had been trapped in a cage of power, just like everyone else. The choice was no longer clear. Victor leaned in close, his breath shaky as he whispered, "I will help you, but I need you to promise me something. No more bloodshed. No more tyranny." Althira's gaze softened, and for the first time, Victor saw the flicker of hope in her eyes. "I promise," she whispered, and in that moment, something surreal happened. The power that had pulsed within her faded, and for the first time, the weight of her title seemed to lift. Victor had chosen. He had chosen to save her, not the Empire. And in doing so, he had awakened a force that would change everything.